Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May meeting of the Nithsdale Divisional Licensing Board. Just so I'll get this right, hopefully it's the right wording, it's some I've had for a while. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Could I remind members to follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off their video when you are not addressing the meeting. Should you wish to contribute to any item, you should write speak in the Teams chat function or raise your virtual hand and you will be invited to speak in order. Should your question or issue be raised by a previous speaker, please withdraw your request so that we deal with the business as efficiently as possible. I'll now move on to the agenda. Caroline, could you take us through the sediment and apologies, please?
Yeah, good morning, Convener. Thank you. I do believe all board members are present today, but if you don't mind, Convener, I'll just run through the list just to ensure that I'm correct there. Councillor Berretti, are you with us this morning?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
Present.
Councillor Dorward?
Good morning, yes.
Thank you. Conveners here. Councillor Jordan?
Yeah, good morning, Caroline.
Morning. And Councillor Little?
Morning, Caroline. Morning, members.
Thanks for that, members. So we have all 6 board members present today. Convener, no apologies, and just requesting your approval for remote participation.
Yes, happy to approve members' remote participation. Item 2, declarations of interest. Anyone with an interest today? I don't see any hands up. Right. Item 3, minute of meeting of 23rd of February 2023. It's here for approval. Can we take this as a correct record?
Happy to agree.
Agreed.
I agree.
Thanks for that. We'll move on to item 4, Licensing Scotland Act 2005, section 56 and 58, applications for occasional licenses and extended hours granted under delegated authority. It's here for noting. Any questions, or are we happy to note?
Happy to note.
Right, yeah. Item 5, Licensing Scotland Act 2005, application for minor variations granted under delegated authority. It's here for noting. Any questions, or are we happy to note?
Happy.
Yeah, happy to note, Chair.
Noted.
Right, yeah. Thanks for that. Item 6, Licensing Act 2005, applications for transfer of premises licence granted under delegated authority. It's here for noting. Everyone happy to note?
Yep, Chair. Yeah.
Noted.
Noted.
Right, yeah. And we'll now move on to item 7, which is Licensing Scotland Act, application for variation of premises licence, Southerness Holiday Village, and I'll ask Caroline to take us through this report. Thanks.
Thank you, Convener. Can I just ask who's here to speak to this application, please? I understand that we have 2 representatives. If you could just state your name, please, and your designation just prior to me going through the report.
Good morning, Convener. My name's Andy Kemp. I'm the Licensing Manager for the Parkdean Resorts Group, and I'm joined by Fraser Cantley, who's the General Manager of Southerness Holiday Park.
Hi, folks.
Thank you for that. So, members, this is an application for a major variation in respect of Southerness Holiday Village at Southerness. The application was received on the 8th of February 2023. In terms of statutory consultation, those who have been consulted are detailed at paragraph 2 of the report. There was no neighbour notifications. In terms of advertising, the dates of display were the 17th of February to Saturday the 11th of March 2023. The signed confirmation of site notice has been received. Last date for objections and representations was the 10th of March 2023. No objections have been received. The application itself is detailed at Appendix 1 of the report. The LSO report advising no adverse comments is detailed at Appendix 2, and the police have advised they have no adverse comments. So in terms of suggested procedure, convener, you may just wish to hear from the police and thereafter the LSO, then allow the applicant to state their case and speak to their application. Thereafter, questions from members, and then perhaps give the applicant an opportunity to sum up their application prior to you going into session. Thank you.
I notice, is it Sergeant Armstrong? If you'd like to say anything on this application.
Thank you, convener. There's no police objections.
Right. Is it Mr. Campley or Mr. Kemp? Cantley or Mr. Kemp who's wishing to speak to this?
Yes.
Beg your pardon, convener. Perhaps just hear from the LSO to speak to the report. Thank you.
Right. Who's on today? Oh, it's Emma. Emma, have you anything you wish to add to the report?
Morning, convener. No, as per my report, I've got no adverse comments to make.
Right. Right. Over to Mr. Kemp.
Good morning, convener and board. This is purely an application of which doesn't affect the sale of alcohol in any way. It's purely to open the premises from 8 AM in the morning so that the premises can continue to do breakfast, but at a slightly earlier time. Our customers have asked if we could open the premises earlier, and this is simply an application on that basis. One other thing to note is that where we have previously just used the Coast Bar and Kitchen, we've also opened this up to the other areas within the premises in order to be able to serve breakfast should there be a need to be able to do so. The kitchen could still be able to be operated, but just in case the Coast Bar and Kitchen wasn't able to be used, we could still serve a breakfast within the show bar licensed premises and deliver. And that's pure and simple what the application is.
Right. Just for my own clarity, so it's no effect to the times for sale of alcohol. It's just to update your operating plan to take into account extra hour for food.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Food and breakfast, whatever, coffees, etc.
Yeah.
Right. Is there any questions from the members? Don't see any hands going up. Right, if there's no questions, are members happy to approve this variation to the licence?
Yes, I'm happy to approve.
Yeah, happy to approve either. No problems.
Caroline, can you just sum that up
Yes.
for us? I think everyone's supportive.
Thank you, convener. So your application has been granted today by the board. You will be notified of that decision in early course with your revised licence on its way to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, board.
Thank you very much.
Right. Move on to item 8 now, which is the Licensing Act 2005 application for new premises licence, Polish shop Dino, Unit 11, Lorburn Shopping Centre, Dumfries. Caroline.
Thank you, convener. Can you just, I can see that we have a representative to speak to the application. Can you just state your name, please, for the board? Thank you.
Adela Krawczyk. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you just repeat that again, please? Sorry.
Adela Krawczyk.
Thank you, Ms. Krashwick. So this is an application for a new premises licence in respect of Polish shop Dino at Lorburn Shopping Centre in Dumfries. The application was received on the 13th of February 2023. We've gone through the statutory advertising and consultation requirements. I can confirm that Section 50 certificates for planning, building standards and food hygiene and the disabled access and facilities statement have been received. Notice of the application was published on the board's webpage from the 24th of February to the 18th of March 2023, and signed confirmation of site notice has also been received. The last date for objections and representations was the 17th of March 2023, and no objections or representations have been received. The application is detailed at Appendix 1 to the report. The LSO report advising no adverse comments, members, is detailed at Appendix 2 to the report, and the Police Scotland have submitted a clear report. So in terms of suggested procedure, convener, you may just wish to hear from the police and then the LSO and Ms Crashwick, and then thereafter questions from yourselves, allowing Ms Crashwick the opportunity to sum up before going into session. Thank you.
Sergeant Armstrong, anything you wish to add?
Thank you, convener. There's no police objections. Thank you.
Right. Miss Connolly.
Thank you, convener. As per my report, no adverse comments for the application.
Now, hopefully I get this right. Miss Kravchik, would you like
Yes.
to speak to your application?
I'm sorry, I'm just quite nervous, as
Right.
always. No, my shop is open like 10 till 6, and we're selling Polish alcohol in these hours. And there is, I don't want to extend more hours, and I don't know what to say again. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so stressed. I was more stressed than last time. So we're selling Polish spirits, beers, and that's it.
Right.
They are quite expensive because there is much tax on it. So I'm
Right.
sorry.
No problem. Do any members have any questions for Miss Kravchik?
Yeah.
Councillor Peretti?
Thank you, Chair. No, I just nothing towards the application. I'm assuming that you still have quite a wide and large Polish community who come in and use the business, I'm assuming.
Yes, we're having actually most of the Polish people living in Dumfries and Galloway coming to our shop, but also we're having a lot of Scottish customers, which I'm really happy. I'm really happy to trying a new stuff, and they really enjoy it. So it's not just Polish people. Actually, everyone are welcome.
Yeah,
to try
and
something
do
new.
you have quite a lot of regional variety from Poland coming to you? And
Yeah.
is it?
Yes, yeah.
It's obviously quite important for your community.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Actually, the warehouse where we're getting the products is based in Manchester. So it's not like everything's coming straight away to Poland. They're having a base here, and they send into products to everyone. Yeah, but it's quite important. That's our tradition. Actually, we're having all traditional foods and drinks.
Yeah, well, thank you, Adele. You see, it wasn't difficult to say something in the end.
I know, but I need a little bit of help.
Well, thank you very much, Ivor.
No problem. Right. Well, if there's no other members, I've got a hand up. Use that.
So it's me, Ivor, again.
Right.
I think you're about to say the concept. Yeah, I fully approve of this and move that we accept it.
Right. Is there anyone otherwise minded? No dissent.
Happy to concur with Councillor Peretti, Chair.
Likewise,
It won't go back down, my hand.
Right.
Lower the hand.
I agree also, Ivor, with moving
Right.
to accept this.
Yeah. So, Caroline, I think everyone's in agreement that we accept this and approve this application for the North license.
So just for clarity there, convener, there's a unanimous decision to grant. Thank you. So, Ms Crashwick, your application for a premises licence has been granted by the board today. You will be notified in writing of that decision in early course, and your new premises licence will be with you also in early course. Thank you.
Just one point before you go. There was mention of hours when you're open. Was it 8 till 6?
No, 10 till. I swapped the numbers all the time. It was 10 till 6. There is no longer. No,
Right. It's just within the report.
Saturday, it's open till from 9, but we sell
Yeah.
alcohol from 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
It was
also
just
like
a hair.
11. Oh my God, I'm swapping the numbers all the time.
It was just what you said in your speech. It was just in case you thought you had a sales from 8 o'clock till 6, but it's from 10 o'clock till 8 you've got in your license, just to
But there is no
clarify
point.
that point.
No,
Right,
there is
yeah.
no point to open the shop early. No.
Right, no problem. Right, with that, we'll move on to item 9.
So can I go now?
Yes, you can.
Can I sell alcohol?
Unless you want to sit and listen to the rest of us, but I don't think
No,
so.
I've got the stuff to put out, so I can go.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Right, yeah.
much. Bye bye.
Right, bye just now. Right, we'll move on to item 9, which is a Licence Act 2005, application for variation of premises licence, Spar Convenience Store, 1 Rosevale Street, Dumfries. Caroline, could you take us through this one, please?
Thank you, convener. I can see that we've got Miss Caroline Loudon from TLT Solicitors. Can you hear me okay, Miss Loudon?
I can, thank you very much.
Thank you. So members, this is an application for a major variation in respect of Spar Convenience Store at 1 Rosevale Street in Dumfries. The application was received on the 13th of March 2023. We've gone through the statutory consultation process, and also in terms of the advertising on the board's webpage from the 24th of March to the 15th of April 2023. Signed confirmation of site notice has also been received. The last date for objections and representations was the 14th of April 2023, and no objections have been received. The application itself is detailed, members, at Appendix 1 to the reports, and the LSO report advising no adverse comment may be found at Appendix 2, and the Police Scotland have also advised no adverse comment. So, convener, in terms of suggested procedure, you may just wish to hear from the police, and then the LSO allow the applicant's agent, Ms Loudon, to speak to the application with thereafter questions from yourselves, if any, and thereafter allow the applicant's agent the opportunity to sum up prior to going into session. Thank you.
Sergeant Armstrong, anything to add?
Thank you, convener. No police objections.
Miss Connolly?
No adverse comments from me.
Right. Miss Loudon, would you like to address your application?
Yes, they're very happy to do that. I'm also aware that I've addressed you previously on these applications. This is one of the CJ Lang Spar upgrading applications that has we've lodged about 183 across Scotland, and several have been in your board area. And this is the one just to change the activities, to update that particular wording to ensure that across the Scottish estate, as far as is possible in terms of board policies, these all read the same, so that it just makes it easier for staff coming in, because they do move around in terms of the CJ Lang estate. So we've got new wording to allow things like food to go, charity collection point, charitable events, pay point, national lottery outlet, external automated cash machine, sampling and promotional activities, as well as a click and collect function should we require that. And again, I think I've detailed the client uses Snappy Shopper, which is an automated app-based delivery policy and delivery function with the policies that attach to that. So I hope that everything is there. I'm grateful for Emma's very comprehensive report as well this morning, and with no adverse comments or objections, I think I can probably just simply move the grant this morning and be grateful for that. Thank you.
Is there any questions from members? Don't see any hands going up. Are we minded to support this application as there's no adverse comments? I would be.
Yeah, I'm happy to support.
Right.
Happy to support too.
No dissent. So, Caroline, could you just sum that one up for us, please?
Thank you, convener. So that's a decision to grant the application in its entirety. So, Ms Loudon, you've heard from the board, the application has been granted today. You will be notified of that decision in early course, and revised premises licence will be with you in early course also. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Right. We'll now move on to item 10, which is the application for provisional premises licence, Mercure Dumfries, Cargan Home House Hotel, Cargan Home Lodge, New Abbey Road, Dumfries. Ms Traynor, would you like to take us through this one?
Thank you, Convener. I just want to check, first of all, who is present with us in relation to this application. I believe we have an Alistair Sutherland agent appearing. I can see you on screen, Mr. Sutherland. Good morning. And I can see another individual, a Jamie Milligan. Mr. Milligan, can you just state your designation, please? In what? Beg your pardon?
The general manager for the
general manager, thank you. And I believe we do have an objector appearing this morning. Mr. Brian Porter, is he here this morning?
I'm here, yeah.
I
Hello,
can see you. Thank you. So members, this is an application for a provisional premises licence in respect of Synergy Hotels Glasgow Limited, the applicant. The premises to be licensed are the Mercure Dumfries Cardigan House Hotel at Cardigan Lodge, New Abbey Road, Dumfries. The application was received on the 8th of February 2023. We've gone through the statutory consultation process. I can confirm that the Section 50 Provisional Planning Certificate and the Disabled Access and Facilities Statement has also been received. In terms of advertising the application, the dates were the 17th of February to the 11th of March 2023, and I can confirm that the signed confirmation of site notice has been received. The last date for objections and representations was the 10th of March 2023. We have received an objection to this application. The application itself, which is for a provisional premises licence, is detailed at Appendix 1. The objection received from Mr. Brian Porter, who's here with us today, is detailed at Appendix 2. And the LSO report advising no adverse comments is detailed at Appendix 3, and you have a clear police report also. So in terms of suggested procedure, Convener, you may wish to just to hear from the police, hear from the LSO, allow Mr. Porter to speak to his objection, and just to advise Mr. Porter, you cannot raise any other issues out with that stated in your objection. You must speak to your objection only.
No problem.
Any questions thereafter from members? Then allow the applicant's agent, Mr. Sutherland, to speak to the application, Convener, and thereafter any questions from yourselves. And thereafter allow Mr. Sutherland the opportunity to sum up the application prior to you going into session. Thank you.
Right, well, Sergeant Armstrong, do you have anything you wish to add?
No objections from the police, thank you.
Just one question for you. Within the objection, there's mention of road safety issues. Were you or any of your team concerned about road safety issues with this application?
No.
Right, thanks for that. Anyone else want any questions there? No. Ms. Connolly?
Thank you, Convener. No adverse comments from me.
Right, yeah. Right, Mr. Porter, it's over to yourself to raise your objection. Thank you.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not familiar with this procedure, so you'll have to bear with me. I've objected on 2 grounds. I've written a statement on the bottom that I don't object to, I'm supportive of the Mercure being successful there, but I felt I needed to object for these reasons, yeah? Not to be a hindrance, but on my own conscience, basically, yeah? I know what the police say there. I've lived in this place for a long time when it's been a nursing home and other places. I can't bring that up. I know that, yeah. I'll go through what I've objected. I've objected on public safety, yeah. With the capacity now at 248, which is more than what's been here since I've lived here for 20 years, yeah. People going in and out. It goes on to the A710. It's a 60-mile-an-hour limit. There is no stop line. It's a private access going onto the public road. At that location, there's a railing set back from what would be the stop line where a motorist is inclined to sit, which I've done through my own experience. You look right, left, right, and there's a hedge to the right where the road veers in from the New Abbey direction, and it creates a blind spot behind the hedge, which is owned by 2 properties along on the public road, which is their hedge. when you come along there, the inclination is right, left, right. If for any reason the driver is unfamiliar with the set out, he could pull out, and I've experienced it myself in both directions. As you pull out onto the public road, people are inclined to come round the corner outbound from Dumfries, overtake, and they're on your side of the carriageway, which could result in a head-on collision or a fatality, or which concerns me. And I've also come from Dumfries, and I hit the same point as you hit the garage there. And people overtake at that point where you're turning right into it. So you could turn right into that overtaking vehicle if you never saw them in your mirror. Yeah. So that is my reason for the objection on them grounds. Again, it's due to me knowing that happens. And I want to raise it. I don't want to hear a siren one day, and I've remained silent on that point. The McCure, I'm sure, don't want that to happen either. To either some public person or one of their guests or a resident in the area. So that is my reason for the objection on that grounds, for my own conscience. Yeah, I don't want to remain silent on that. It's very dangerous there. Yeah. The second one is on a public health grounds. Yeah. At the moment, obviously Jamie's there from the McCure. At the moment, there is a septic tank or water treatment plant within the premises. Yeah, there is no discharge, which is a building control issue at the moment. That allows any discharge to a watercourse or a free discharge from that tank. Currently, with an increased capacity at the moment, they're ticking over. I think they've got a temporary grant from building control. The capacity is not at 248, or hasn't been since it opened in January, I would assume. That septic tank at the moment takes rainwater and foul discharge from the hotel. And as I said, it's blocked off with no free discharge to a watercourse. As the capacity increases and the temperatures increase in the area, obviously that will will not need emptying so frequently, because the rainwater fills it up, so it needs emptying at the moment twice a week approximately. That will stagnate or become in there, you know, that will become a health hazard on that grounds for that reason. When the tanker comes in and does that twice a week, there's a spillage obviously from the tanker when they put their tubes or suction pipes from the tanker. And people are, you know, in the area and live in this area, and obviously as that will stagnate, as temperature rises, the smell and the risk of public health will increase. So that is again the reason for my objection for that reason. And then the two grounds, and I go back to that, the statement I wrote at the bottom. I'm aware that McCure will receive a copy of my objection. And once the relevant issues are resolved, I would have no objection for the licence application. And you know, I genuinely wish them every success for the future, because in its current condition as an occupied building, creating employment and prosperity for the region, it's better than what it was for, say, 5 years as a derelict, boarded up building to me living in the area. So I will conclude with that, and thank you all for your time.
You're on mute, Ivor.
Any members have any questions for Mr. Porter? Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thanks, convener, and thanks, Mr. Porter. In the 20 years that you stayed in this vicinity, do you know of any incidents or accidents at that junction?
I've seen that in the past. The railing has been knocked down, and it was knocked down for a period of probably a couple of years before it was repaired. Yeah, I have seen that happen from that junction. But again, it's as I say, currently you could say there's 10 houses there, and people are familiar with that junction, and now you're talking about a possibility of 248 capacity, which is, if you half that, you're talking about, say, 124 potential users of that junction at any particular time, which is a considerable increase, and strange users. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Thanks, convener.
Any other questions? Don't see any hands up. Mr. Sutherland, or is it Mr. Milligan that's going to address us on the application?
Thank you, convener.
Right.
I'm grateful to Ms. Connolly for her reports and also for the summary at the beginning. And I don't have very much to add to that. Just in terms of Mr. Porter's objections, I just have a few comments to make in that regard. Firstly, actually, I'm very grateful. I'm sure my clients were very grateful for Mr. Porter's comments about wanting this to be a success, and certainly where there are concerns around road safety and around impact on the environment from the septic tank, then certainly my clients would be very happy to discuss that further and to make sure that any concerns are properly addressed in that regard. In terms of the application today and the relevance of the objections for the determination of this application, clearly the board is concerned with licensing objectives, and these matters of road safety and potential for environmental impact from the septic tank are properly planning and environmental matters in my submission, and the applicant does have planning permission for this, and planning was granted taking these matters into account in terms of access to and from the property by vehicles, taking into account the fact that obviously the refurbishment of the property into a hotel with the number of visitors is going to result in an increase, and matters of road safety, traffic impact, traffic safety have been taken into account at the planning stage, and planning permission has been granted, and there's been no objection to this application from the planning service. And as we heard from Police Scotland earlier, there's no concerns from Police Scotland in relation to road safety. Now, clearly that doesn't mean that this is not something that the owners and operators of this hotel simply disregard. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's really just the relevance of the matter for the determination of this application. They absolutely take the issue of road safety and the safety of their customers and visitors to and from the hotel, coming to and from their premises, very seriously. So they're very happy to continue discussions with local residents, and if there are concerns about improvements that can be made and changes that can be made, and indeed Mr. Porter has raised in his written submission the issue of ongoing maintenance to make sure that the sight lines and visibility remains unobstructed. So that's definitely something that the operator will do going forward. And if there are any concerns about that, then that's something that can be discussed with the planning authority and with Mr. Porter as well. Similarly, in relation to the emptying of the septic tank, again, the operator has absolutely no desire for there to be any issue in relation to that. It's not in their interest for them to have odours or leakages in the environment of their hotel. That's clearly not going to be a good news story for them. So again, it's something that they are dealing with, they're mindful of, and they take Mr. Porter's comments and objections in that regard into account. But again, it is a matter that they would be subject to regulatory control by environmental health if necessary, and doesn't go to the licensing objectives. And on the basis that there is no adverse comments from any of the consultees and these matters can be controlled otherwise, then in my submission they wouldn't be reasons that would justify the board refusing. They're not proper grounds for refusal that would allow the boards to refuse this application this morning.
Is there any questions from members for Mr. Sutherland? Don't see any hands going up. Just for clarity, Mr. Sutherland, the planning application process, are you aware if it was conditional approval or just unconditional approval? Because there might be something that that would address the issues that have been raised by the objector. It may be in hand already, I don't know. But things like, you know, the septic tank, if that was a conditional approval that you got soakaway, etc. put in, or sight lines would be fine. Was there any conditions like that put on the application that might alleviate Mr. Porter's concerns?
Don't have a copy of the planning permission before me, convener. I can certainly, if that's something the board would like me to address this morning, then I'd be happy to obtain a copy and I can address the board about that.
It was just if you had it at hand, because
I don't have it at hand. It may be Mr. Milligan knows the answer to this question, but I suspect he probably won't. I think he would probably be looking to defer to me. I can see him shaking his head.
All right.
Yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that.
Right. If there's no questions for Mr. Sutherland, don't see any hands up. You have the right to sum up, Mr. Sutherland.
I'd simply move the grant, convener. Thank you.
Over to members. Are we minded to support this application? Councillor Campbell?
Yeah, happy to support this application. I think Mr. Sutherland already mentioned about the septic tank and the road safety issues. Those are actually dealt under separate pieces of legislation through the council or police or whatever. So I'm happy to approve this, convener.
Councillor Barretti?
Yeah, convener, I'm happy to second Councillor Campbell's thoughts on this as well.
And with that, is anyone else otherwise minded? I don't see any hands going up. Caroline, would you just like to sum up the decision of the board?
Thank you, convener. So just to confirm, that decision is grant of the provisional application. Okay, thank you. So yeah, you've just heard from the board, Mr. Sutherland, and the board has granted the application for a provisional premises licence. You will be notified of that decision, of course, in writing in early course, and also the provisional will be with you in early course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, move on to item 11.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, and the best of luck to you, Mercure. There's no bitterness on my part, and I wish you success for the future. Thank you very much for that. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Right, move on to item 11. Licence Scotland Act, Section 30, application for major variation at Chancellor's Nightclub, Dumfries, and it's a decision on the trial period. Ms. Traynor.
Thank you, convener. I believe I can now see we've got Miss Audrey Juna from Hillbrown Licensing, just to ensure that Miss Juna, the agent, can hear from me okay.
Yeah, good morning, Caroline. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you. Okay. And is there anybody else appearing alongside you, Miss Juna?
Yes, I'm also joined by Brian Armstrong, who's the owner and operator of Chancellors.
Thank you very much. So members, just to go through the brief history here. It's an application for a major variation in respect of Chancellor's Nightclub at Munches Street in Dumfries. You've been asked to consider whether a variation to extend the terminal hour from 3 AM to 4 AM 7 days per week for a trial period should be granted on a permanent basis or not. You'll recall at your hearing on the 26th of August 2022, a variation application was before the board, and part of that request was to extend the terminal licence hours 7 days per week from 3 AM to 4 AM. Following consideration of the matter, the board agreed to grant this trial basis on a 7 day per week basis, 3 AM to 4 AM. You also agreed at the hearing in August 2022 to request updated reports from both Police Scotland and the Licensing Standards Officer with regard to the impact that extra hours operation may have on the licensing objectives. And you'll recall that the rest of the variation was granted in its entirety. So with regard to this 6-month operation, this trial period, you have received the following updated reports. You have an updated Police Scotland report, which is detailed at Appendix 1 to this report. And you also have an updated LSO report detailed at Appendix 2. So you're being asked today whether, based on the information based on both those reports, and also hearing from Ms Junior on behalf of her client, based on all the information before you today, whether you're minded to grant the major variation request on a permanent basis, which will extend the terminal hour from 3 AM to 4 AM, 7 days per week, or whether you're going to refuse the major variation request to extend that hour 7 days per week, in which case the terminal hour 7 days per week would revert to 3 AM, mindful, of course, of the grounds of refusal stated in the report. So, convener, in terms of suggested procedure, I would suggest that you hear from the police to speak to the terms of their updated report detailed at Appendix 1 with questions from yourselves, then allow the LSO to speak to the terms of her updated report with questions from yourselves following, if any. Thereafter, allow Ms Junior, the agent on behalf of the applicant, to speak to her major variation application and that 6-month trial period, with thereafter questions from yourselves, and then allow Ms Junior, on behalf of her client, the opportunity to sum up her position, her client's position, I beg your pardon, before you go into session. Thank you.
Sergeant Armstrong, would you like to speak to your report?
Thank you, Convener. Yes, I'm happy to speak to it and answer any questions. Obviously, from a Police Scotland point of view, we objected to the original application on the 13th of June. We've since been asked to give you an update in relation to the 6-month trial period. From that, I can give as much or as little detail, but in summary, there was 22 licensed premises inspections carried out by Police Scotland. They were both proactive inspections and also as a result of incidents that had occurred either inside or outside of the premises. In terms of incidents within the premises, there were nine incidents which occurred during the trial period, which are a mixture of breaches of the peace, assaults and general licence offences, i.e. people failing to quit a licensed premises. In terms of incidents out with the premises, there was 4, which again was a mixture as well. What I would like to highlight as well, again, I'm happy to go into greater detail if that's what the members wish, but obviously what I would like to highlight from a policing point of view as well, that we have a really good relationship with Chancellor's Nightclub, and a lot of these incidents that we've dealt with, if not the majority, have been as a result of positive information provided by them, either via phone call or via the radio link system, which obviously the police are connected to, which has allowed us to have early intervention in relation to that. I'm happy to take any other questions. I think on top of that.
Don't know if you'll have this information, but if you were to look at the same period that you looked at with regard to the trial period the year before, might not be the best year because it'd be COVID and stuff like that, was there an increase in the amount of crime that has happened, or was it just a case of, instead of being sort of looking at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, you're now looking at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock and moving on an hour? Is there any evidence of that? Because if there's an increase in detected crime, i.e. breach of the peace, etc., then that might change us down a different way. Whereas if it's moving, I would be looking at, is there evidence that actually the terminal hour causes a problem, or is it just it's moving it back an hour because they're coming out an hour later? Another one, the first 2 incidents near the premises, can you attribute those to chancers, or could that be people coming out of other clubs and it just happens that the taxi ranks near chancers, therefore you get a congregation of people there? So that's the 2 points.
Thank you, Convener. I'll answer the easier one first. So on your second point, the 4 incidents outside were linked to people who had been within the premises. There was a lot more other incidents that had happened outside, but they weren't necessarily linked to the premises. So those 4 are people who have been within the premises. Regarding your first question, I don't have those figures to hand, so I can't answer that question in terms of comparison. But you're right, probably with COVID, there probably would have been less anyway. So I don't have a year-on-year comparison.
Right, thanks for that. Councillor Little, and I don't know, did I see Councillor Jordan's hand going up? Maybe not. But Councillor Little.
Thanks, convener. Well, it's kind of want to ask us a question very similar to Ivor's, but maybe not a year upon year. Maybe just 6 months prior, just a few months before, or even a couple of months before this trial period. And it's really about the amount of incidents, offences. Are we just moving them up, moving them on an hour? Because you must have the data on that, on whether, what the incidents were a couple of months before this trial period.
I mean, again, I've not got that data in front of me. I mean, I will have it somewhere, and I can't get it. But I mean, from a policing point of view, we expected to have dealt with more incidents than what we have dealt with in that 6-month period, which I see as a positive. We expected to be more calls, more incidents, more crimes, and as a police force, or a division, we have found that not to be the case in the changing and the extension of the hour.
Although you don't have the data, thanks, I can come back. Although you don't have that data, that actual comment is really useful. Thanks very much for that.
And Councillor Jordan, did you wish in?
No, thank you. Yourself and Tracy have asked the same question. I no need to ask.
Right, yeah. If there's no, Councillor Beretti.
Yeah, thank you, convener. It was interesting what you were saying, and also Councillor Little. If I'm not mistaken, one of the things that we discussed at the last time this came in front of us, was that it was as a measure to also encourage people not to leave Dumfries and potentially stay in Dumfries rather than going to Carlisle. Greg, have you noticed, or is it possible to say, most of these incidences, are they related to people who are local, or are they related to people who have come into the area for simply the fact that it's late hours?
I probably can't confidently ask that as well without having to look through every incident. But we haven't noticed any trends. I mean, that's probably the easiest thing to say. There's no trends in the question that you're asking. I can't confirm if it's people out with or local. But we certainly haven't noticed a mass influx of, say, people from the Carlisle area coming to Dumfries or out with areas because the club is open now an extra hour.
Thank you, convener.
Okay. If there's no other questions, Ms. Connolly, do you wish to add to the report? Was that me, or are you on mute? I couldn't hear anything there.
No, I can't hear either. No, I can't.
Sorry, nothing yet. Nothing to add, is that right?
I think, convener, she's saying nothing to add. I'm lip reading.
Yeah. Any questions for the licensing officer? No. Right. Now it's Miss. I've lost your name. Where was it?
Dinner.
There it is. Juna. Yeah.
Hello. Good morning, Your Honours. It's actually been 9 months since we last appeared before you, so we've eked out the 6-month trial period for a few extra months. So obviously at that point you very generously gave Brian and his team the extra hour, and really we're here to kind of see how that's worked in practice. Anecdotally, Brian and I had a chat and he's heard really good things. There hasn't been any sort of negative feedback from other operators in the town, which I think is really encouraging. you'll no doubt be aware that Brian is involved in the local branch of the Scottish Licensed Trade Association, so he's very much got his ear to the ground in these things, and it doesn't seem that they're taking trade away from other businesses. And there's lots of positive kind of murmurings about the time difference between sort of genuine nightclubs and other venues being re-established. And again, sort of anecdotally, there's lots of kind of chat about there being a reduction in the crowds of people sort of hanging around Burn statue area at 3 o'clock, and instead they're sort of moving towards Chancellors or they're heading home. So there does appear to be sort of a helpful, more sort of gradual dispersal sort of those at that time of the night. So instead of everybody trying to get a taxi at the same time, you've got sort of different stages of people dispersing throughout the night, which I think is, is only a positive thing. What I just really wanted to emphasise to you is that this has genuinely been a lifeline to the club, especially across the winter months. It's obviously not a secret that post-COVID kind of habits of customers have changed, and the late night industry is really struggling most. But the extra hour here it's made a huge difference to Brian, and it's a small change really, but it's made the club viable again. And I think, well, I don't think that can really be understated. I think it's really, really important to emphasise that. One of the main things that they've been able to do with the extra hours, they're able to attract quite big acts to the club. So, for example, last weekend they had George Bowie doing a set. He's on the radio, as I'm sure you know, till quite late at night. But then he's able to travel down to Dumfries, and he saw Chancellors as a bona fide nightclub where he could perform a full set because of the extra hour that they have. It's not cheap to bring these acts in. Actually, I was quite shocked to hear how much these things cost. But it's great for the club, it's great for the town, and it's got an impact on the rest of the town, because last weekend, for example, there were 14 rooms in a nearby hotel taken up just with people coming to see George Bowie. And they've had other events. He had one last month, which is a big charity event where they had 11 DJs coming to the club, and during that time they had Airbnbs were booked up. There was 18 rooms, I think, taken up by just the artists alone in local hotels and residencies. So again, they really encouraging. They plan to do more of these events. It's a side of the business that they want to grow. So it is bringing people to Dumfries. I know that point was raised, and it is, I think keeping people in Dumfries. And obviously we spoke about that at length in the last meeting. Just to kind of touch on the police report, it does present some challenges, and I think, Convener, you've already identified that there aren't any comparative figures, so it's quite kind of difficult to know how to interpret what we have and whether it is good or bad, because we don't have context to view them in. But I think kind of ultimately what we do have is 9 incidents across this period of about 8 months when the report was compiled. That does include the busy festive period, and you'll see that there wasn't really an increase during that period at all. In my personal experience, having worked with operators kind of across the country, that figure is quite low, and I think Sergeant Armstrong picked up on that, that they possibly thought that there would be more incidents. So it's that's really encouraging that it's not a higher figure. Again, like Sergeant Armstrong said, I don't think it's helpful maybe for us to kind of go into detail about every incident. I'm more than happy to do that, and Brian's on the call as well if you want to hear about any of them in particular. The club have records of all of these. They are very, very strict on this. They have incident books, they have refusals books, and they're also really transparent with Police Scotland and how they communicate with them. They report absolutely everything, and they don't hold back at all, whether it's out on the street or it's at the taxi rank or wherever it is, they will report it, which if you are looking at instant numbers might not necessarily go in their favour, but as we've heard from Sergeant Armstrong, it's certainly the right thing to do. I guess it's not really about the numbers, it's about the overall picture. What does it say about the impact of the extra hour and the way that the team Chancellors have responded to it? I very much get the impression from the police report and from what the LSO says that this is a very responsible operator. The majority of the incidents are because people have been refused access, or they're being asked to leave the premises because their behaviour has not been up to the standards that they expect. These are, they're obviously quite difficult situations to handle. There isn't a pub watch scheme operating at the moment, which is, that brings challenges because security don't have the weight of that behind them when refusing entry, and customers know that. But I think what's quite evident is that security are very firm about this. They do not let people in. And Brian, when he's on the door, he sees that happening, and that's the message that he's communicating. That Brian is in the club every Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and he, as I say, also works the door, so he is very aware of what's happening on the ground. Every single time there has been anything, it's been reported to Police Scotland, and as you'll see from the report, and as we've heard this morning, it specifically mentions the fact that the staff always do this, and they are making these reports early, and it's allowing police to intervene at an early stage and de-escalate these incidents. And ultimately what they say is that contributes to the objectives of preventing crime and disorder, which again, I think can only be a positive thing. There is obviously an LSO report, and that just really, again, just remarks on the cooperation that they have with Brian, and the kind of high level of compliance within the club, and most importantly confirms that the extended hour of 4 o'clock hasn't brought any issues or concerns from a licensing perspective. Your Honours, obviously the purposes today was to review the extension after a trial period, and I guess question whether it's appropriate to grant it on a permanent basis, or whether that would be inconsistent with the objectives. I don't think, based on what we've got in front of you and what we've heard today, that you could reach the conclusion that it would result in an inconsistency. I think, if anything, there are strong signs that it's having a positive impact. And as I mentioned at the very start, it has been a lifeline to the club, and it's one that they would very much like to cling on to. Thank you.
The only thing I didn't understand was this George Bowie. If you said David Bowie, I might have known who he was, but
I think they might have struggled to get David Bowie these days.
Right. Is there any questions for Miss Juna? Don't see any hands going up. Nothing in the chat. Right. Are members minded to support this extension, to carry on with the extension?
Convener, do you want to just allow Ms Juna the opportunity to sum up?
Ms Juna, would you like to sum up?
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I will say very little because you've heard enough from me. I would just again emphasise what I've said about this being a positive benefit for Dumfries, and ask you to grant it on a permanent basis.
Right. Councillor Campbell.
Are we in session yet, Convener?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I feel quite reassured by the police report and everything that Ms Juna has said in her verbal report. I'm quite happy to support this application going ahead. Thank you.
Councillor Barretti.
Yeah, likewise, Convener. One of the things that was mentioned at the very 9 months ago or 8 months ago was the fact that it would bring business to the town, and I think from what I've heard that is actually happening. So I'm like John, I'm happy to support this application.
Councillor Dorward.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning. Really encouraged by what I've heard. I think that the incidents that if you work them out in my really bad arithmetic, it's less than 1 a month. And there's a really good proactive working relationship with Police Scotland, evidenced here from both sides. And of course, business into Dumfries town is always good, and it isn't just about the club itself, it's about other hospitality areas and also about the hotel trade as well, which is fantastic, and in the shopping on the day after. So all good news, I think, so no objections at all. Thank you.
And Councillor Little.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, I'm encouraged. I'm pleased at the transparency, the cooperation and responsibility of the running of this club. And the police comments were very encouraging as well. And it's our business here to be helping and supporting to build our nighttime economy. So I'm really pleased to support this application, Convener.
Oh, I think that's everybody now. Caroline, I think there's a unanimous decision to support this. I think the words of the police representative have helped in the grounds that, and the LSO, that Mr. Armstrong does run a tight ship here, and long may that continue, because I think that helps us. You know, if Mr. Armstrong's is the sort of base that we judge everybody else by, it'll give us an idea if there's anything else comes forward. So I'd be happy to support this one as well. So Caroline, if you'd just like to sum up for the applicant.
Thank you, convener. So just to confirm, that's unanimous support to grant major variation application on a permanent basis, extending that terminal hour. Thank you. So yes, so you've just heard from the board, Ms Dooner and Mr Armstrong, and the board have deliberated and decided to grant the major variation application on a permanent basis, extending your terminal hour from 3 AM to 4 AM, 7 days per week. That decision, of course, will be notified to you in writing in early course, and the revised licence reflecting that extension 7 days per week will be with you in early course as well. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for your support on this. Really, really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, folks, we'll move on to item 12, Equality Act 2010. Equality Act 2010, Specific Duties Scotland Regulations 2012, Licensing Board's mainstreaming report. Caroline, do you want to take us through this one?
Just to unmute myself. Yes, convener, thank you. So this is the board's mainstreaming report for 2021 to 2023. You're being requested just to adopt it and also approve its publication on the board's website. Without actually going through the report, the mainstreaming report for 2021 to 2023 was actually adopted by the council at its meeting earlier this year, members. So you've already gone through it with your council hat on, but the licensing board is also legally obliged to have in place a mainstreaming report. So what we do is we just you're asked to just approve the council's mainstreaming reports. If I'm happy to take any questions. The report is detailed at the appendix, and it was approved by full council at the end of March 2023. Your current equality outcome for all 4 divisional boards is detailed at paragraph 3.8. So, as I say, convener, this mainstreaming report is exactly the same as the one that was adopted at full council at the end of March, and it's just probably more of a procedural request that you just adopt it as a licensing board, and we can publish it on the board's webpage.
Right, I think it's our duty to do it, sort of thing, because we're a sort of semi-autonomous board. So are members happy to adopt the council's equalities mainstreaming report and agree to publish this document on Dumfries and Galloway Licensing Board's webpage?
Yeah, agree, convener.
Agreed. Yeah, happy.
Convener.
I think that's unanimous. Right. With that, I have no further business. Date of next meeting, Friday the 19th of May.
Next week.
Yeah, so we'll see you all there. And thank you for your attendance.
Thank you, convener, and
Thanks,
thank you,
convener.
members.